LAWsome by ConsultWebs. Breakthrough insights to build a thriving law firm with your host, Tanner Jones.
Hello to all our LAWsome listeners. Today on our show, I'm excited to be talking with James Crawford Jr., founding partner, CEO, and senior litigator at the law office of James E. Crawford Jr. and Associates. James has 30 years of trial experience in federal and state courts throughout the state of Maryland and beyond. After graduating from law school in 1992, he started his own law firm in Baltimore. Later, he expanded the company into the current full-service law firm he has now. JC Law is currently considered the go-to firm by many businesses and citizens throughout Maryland. One of the youngest elected officials in the history of the state, James's political career includes managing and running numerous municipal, state, and judicial elections. Today's topic is law firm growth and how to scale up to other states. Welcome, James. Thanks for joining the show today.
Tanner, good morning.
Growth is clearly essential if you want to be a successful business owner, obviously. Sustainability is also important, but before even embarking on any expansion effort as a business owner, it's first important to conduct thorough market research and really get a good analysis of the market before expanding into it. Would you agree with that, James?
Well, I certainly would, but I think Tanner goes a little bit deeper than that. Depending upon what type of firm you are, if you're a solo practitioner, if you're a mid-sized firm or larger firm, I really think the first question you have to ask yourself or your partners is, why are we looking to expand? What is the purpose? And if we do expand, how are we going to benefit from that? There's many different types of law firms. You have defense law firms, insurance firms, litigation firms. Many firms want to expand into different states just to have a basic presence for their client or clients for a lot of different reasons. If you fall in the category of wanting to expand because you want to grow your business, that's special. That's something a little bit different, and that's something that most lawyers really don't have a clue about, and they don't teach it in law school, and you don't learn it in law school. And most law firms are content to kind of stay where they are, do what they're doing, and be successful doing that. For the people that want to expand, you have to really ask yourself several questions. As I said, number one, why are you doing it? Number two, if you're going to go into a particular market, you have to obviously really research that market, look at that market closely. Does it resemble your present market? And it's not just population, it's not just potential clients, it's really about marketing. And it's really about the viability of marketing and the ability to bring in cases on a sustainable level. And when I say marketing, primarily online digital marketing, but there's other types of marketing obviously as well. But it's been my belief, and what I've been able to develop over the years, is a method to go into a market, or even in the present market that you're in, to find ways of grabbing a share of the digital marketing and really grow your firm in the direction you want to grow in. So yes, it's obviously you have to look at the potential in the market you're going in, but the real crucial thought process is why and what are you trying to accomplish?
Do you know how many cases you're signing from your marketing investment each month? If you want to diagnose the status of your firm's marketing efforts, then the LAWsome podcast has a gift for you. Discover the best and the most unique legal marketing solutions available today using the Decision-Making Handbook's free printable criteria. Claim your copy in the bio below. I think, man, that's so important, starting with the end in mind. And all too often, I think it's clear. I mean, just being in the legal profession as long as I have, I've seen so many firms often just make very quick decisions, hasty decisions without really considering what does success look like? Defining success before you get started is such a powerful thing, and it keeps you kind of in the tracks, if you will. But let's take the conversation a little deeper in this respect and speak specifically to expanding into maybe an adjacent state. If a firm has a mindset of saying, I just want more, maybe it's the same practice area. They're not going to diversify in practice areas. They just want to keep increasing market share into other states. Anything that you would speak to with respect to, the market itself and analyzing competition and taking such a big step out of your current state?
It's changed over the years. When I first started practicing, it was totally different. You had the yellow pages, you had traditional marketing, and many of the firms that were existing had control over the local populace. And it was really about marketing at that time, but it's changed. The number one suggestion I would give to someone who's looking to do that is learn and understand digital marketing. I have another book coming out in about probably sometime later in the summer. It's called The Perfect Client Law Firm. And it talks about how to build a law firm and how to do exactly what we're talking about. I label it in three basic categories as far as how to approach, growth in the marketplace and even a new venue. The first category is vendors. You're going to have digital marketing vendors of some sort, and there's plenty of them out there. Some of the big ones are Thomson Reuters, Fine Law, Nolo, Legal Match, things like that. And you have to really master the amount of money that you're spending. I created, and I think it's useful, I recommend people creating a media mastermind. It's just a spreadsheet that has a listing of all your possible vendors. And it could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 100. And in the various columns that you're going to have, and it sounds very rudimentary, but it's very, very important to keep up with and live and die with on a daily and weekly basis. You're going to have to understand what kind of bang for your buck you're getting. If you're paying a certain vendor X amount of dollars, you really have to get down into the details about what that costs per click, per lead. I'm not necessarily talking about PPC. I'm talking about actual vendor marketing and what that cost is and what you're getting back, how many leads you're getting. For years, what I looked at was the total amount of leads that I'm coming in. So if I have in my media mastermind, say 15 vendors working hard for me and I have an X amount of spend, I want to know exactly how many on a routine basis, on a monthly basis, how many leads I'm getting, And I want to know what the cost per lead is. I want to know what the conversion rate is. And that leads into other discussions as well, as far as you have to have some kind of intake procedure. In my offices, I have a set staff. It's called the intake team. We have a sales team. We have a conversion team. It's something I call the Fab Five. I'm an old basketball fan from years ago. And it's not 5 people anymore, but it's a group of lawyers that we teach how to sell. And not to deviate, but it's my belief that selling is what makes the legal profession go round. And lawyers were taught to not do that, and makes it very, very difficult for lawyers to become managers, leaders, because it's antithesis of how we're supposed to think. But the column number 1 in the media mastermind is extremely important. You have to have your vendors. You have to perfect what your spend is and what you're receiving, and you have to understand how that vendor works. They're not perfect. They're not great in many circumstances. You have to understand sometimes better than the person selling it for the vendor understands their own business in order to perfect that. The second column we have is basically the organic column. And that's all these columns can be discussed for hours and hours and hours, but the middle column, the organic, is something that relates to basically your website. And you're going to try to take all your vendors and social media and everything and try to drive it to your middle column, which is your organic website. On a 100% scale, any kind of successful law firm, you're not going to have more than 15 to 18% of your incoming leads being developed from organic. If you have more than that, you're doing fantastic. If you have less than 5, you're not doing so well. And that's another discussion. The third column I like to call it is basically the real marketing column. And that is from the standpoint of billboards, TV, radio, all the traditional markets and employees that we've used for years. And that's kind of like the salt and pepper of the first 2 columns. When you talk about branding, I'm not a big believer in branding. Okay, in today's world with digital marketing and all the other techniques that are out there, it's very easy to go in and just obtain a lead, because that's what you're looking to do. You need to obtain a lead, someone who needs your services. And when you're going into a new market, you have to pinpoint that. So the third column, as far as marketing, is the traditional stuff, and I'll normally do that as kind of like an icing on the cake type scenario. It's very hard to measure. You can't measure it as easily as the digital and also the organic, but you can measure it, and it does have in certain populations. It has a better effect than other columns at different times. That's an overview of the basics. But you have to understand, if you're going to go into another market, you have to understand how to obtain leads. Sometimes you have to start out small. Sometimes you have to look for, maybe your first month you're getting 100 leads.
Every year we make predictions about legal marketing trends that will affect hundreds of thousands of lawyers across the country. If you've been looking to reach new clients, stay informed, or gain a competitive advantage in your market area, this is your opportunity. Unlock the secrets of success with this exclusive PDF that reveals some of the top legal marketing trends in the industry today. Claim your copy in the bio below. That, James, I think is the important piece, because you have listeners here all over the country practicing a wide range of practice areas. And the whole concept of marketing is a foreign concept in many instances. You've kind of alluded to this, but they don't teach you how to run a business necessarily in going through law school.
Well, here's the question the lawyer has to ask himself. One of the reasons I'm writing this latest book is, I've been doing this for 32 years. My father was an attorney. I lived and breathed. I grew up in the environment of politics and law firms. The legal profession is a noble profession, and one of the most noble professions that we have. But lawyers are not taught about the real deal, what's really going on. Law schools may or may not do that. My daughter is graduating from medical school this year, and I noticed that the last 2 years of medical school, they weren't really doing academic work. They were out and about doing different things at hospitals with doctors, learning how to practice law and learning how to practice medicine and learning how to, administer medicine. Law firms are trying to do that, but they still rely on law firms like ours and many thousands of others to teach graduates coming out of law school how to practice law. The big thing that's missing is business. And so I would challenge anyone listening to this who wants to run a law firm or develop a series of firms is, are you running a law firm to practice law, or are you running a business attempting to perfect the art of practicing law? And if you're not doing the latter, then you're going to have a difficult time scaling and being successful.
And clearly, marketing plays a big role in that. You mentioned you weren't as big into branding, and I would like to kind of drill down into that a little bit more, at least in hearing, how do you define branding as compared to marketing? Where do you see the difference?
Marketing is pinpointing leads. The name of the game is obtaining leads. If you're going to be successful in your marketing spend, you have to be cognizant of what you're getting for what you spend. You have to know. You have to understand. I will spend X amount of dollars in a market, and I know what I'm going to get back. Pretty much. I mean, there's variations, things like that. But that is what I define as not marketing, as digital spend. Marketing, I label more as branding. You're going to go on the radio, you're doing podcasts, you're doing TV. And that's great. You're going to hit a certain market or certain generation of people, but it's going to be fleeting. And if you do enough of it, you may be successful over a long period of time and establish yourself in the community. My thought process has always been, let's establish yourself in the community one client at a time. And you're killing two birds with one stone. You're obtaining a client, which you may be a paying client, but you're also making the law firm work and you're growing. So lawyers have to get clear in their mind. Branding is great. If you're Coca-Cola, brand. If you're Apple, brand. If you're a huge tech company, brand. But no, we're not. We're looking to obtain the end result, which is X amount of clients, and that's where you have to go and get them. You have to be very smart about it.
Hiring an outside marketing agency can take your firm's business truly to the next level. But having to compare and contrast different legal vendors out there can be a rather overwhelming and complicated process. So we'd like to help you with that. That's why we've created this free digital vendor checklist. It's going to give you the tools and, more importantly, the confidence needed to truly evaluate and vet the potential vendors out there. It's going to help you understand specifically their legal marketing expertise, team qualifications, what they can and cannot do, types of services they offer, and expectations of those services, proof of success. Have they been there before? Have they helped other similar law firms like yours? And arguably, more importantly, your digital ownership rights related to working with them and what you own or do not own. Claim your free printable checklist in the comments below. And naturally, I mean, in practicing for 32 years, James, you've experienced this firsthand, but some of your best quote-unquote marketing is your customer service, your ability to serve the client and create a lifelong referral of that customer.
I have people that have come back to me from 30 years ago, they're friends. The practicing the law, okay, and this is not across the board, but I see a lot of people coming out of law schools where it seems to be more of a transactional business than it used to be in many ways. Not across the board, but in many ways. And I've always taken it personally. In other words, when I'm representing someone, it's life and death. It's something that you have to give your all to do. And the client recognizes that. Of course, yes, we have all kinds of so-called tools to generate and keep the clients. They get booklets, they get this, we give them that. We send personal notes to them. We do all kinds of things that really help, and that's great. And it ends in a situation where they will give you a 5-star Google review, which, by the way, is one of your best techniques of growing in any market. If you have 1,000 clients, there's no reason why you shouldn't have at least 50% of those clients giving you Google reviews. You have to build it into your thought process about practicing law. I was told a long time ago by someone who I respect a lot, a lawyer that became, if I mention his name, most people across the country would recognize him. He said to me, basically, there's two types of lawyers, basically, in this country. There's lawyers that practice law, and there's lawyers who manage those who practice law. And there's nothing wrong with just practicing law. We have a lot of fantastic lawyers, and we need that. The profession needs that, and that's what needs to happen. But the flip side is, in big law across this country, there's a lot of managing law and lawyers. And when you go into another market, you better be prepared because that's what you're going to have to do.
Without a doubt. And you've hit on several different forms of marketing that maybe many attorneys haven't even considered. Obviously, getting reviews is a powerful driver when it comes to digital marketing and conversion in particular. But another topic that we haven't really hit on too much is around the concept of thought leadership. Basically, what are you doing to educate your marketplace, to build awareness, and to set yourself apart as an expert? And you've already referenced your book here, James, and obviously you've taken real effort in the ability to differentiate yourself in the marketplace and stand apart. Can you speak to the concept of thought leadership and what that means for a lawyer?
I'll tell you, Tanner, I love that concept. Okay, I know I mentioned a book that's coming out in the summer, but I have a book I wrote about a year ago. If anyone wants to kind of know the journey that I've been on and a lot about Baltimore politics and practice law in Maryland, is a book I wrote about a year and a half ago called An American Lawyer. It's on sale across the country. But the concept of thought leadership is so important, not just as a lawyer with your clients, but with your office and with your staff and with the people that you're leading. They look to you as someone who's going to lead the firm and lead the process to success. No question about that. In order to get that out to the public, there's a lot of different methodologies, and most lawyers kind of instinctually know about them. Writing blogs. It's the fundamental way. You have to have some kind of understanding about how the mechanisms with Google and Yahoo, all that works. Despite not knowing the intricate details and being an engineer, I know instinctually that if I write X amount of blogs, a lot, then I'm going to get certain amount of return as far as people looking, seeing, touching, feeling, hearing, and over a period of time, that absolutely establishes you as an expert. Now, it's impossible for you yourself as a lawyer, someone in my position, to write every blog. I have people that write them and I approve it or what have you. But nonetheless, it's driving that thought process back to your firm and to your belief system about what you're doing. The fundamental belief system that I try to instill in all my lawyers, all my staff, and everywhere is that as lawyers, we're public servants in many ways. Lawyers stand between us and sometimes bad things. Government, other people are trying to harm people. We are the last ones that can help our client, and we have to take that seriously. And that theme and that thought process about that injustice has to resonate through what you're trying to do. So my suggestion to lawyers is, whatever you're looking to do, whatever area you're practicing in, make sure you're really, really trying to get across what you believe in and what you don't believe in. It will come through. It will come through. I've had so many people say to me after looking at just advertising or reading our website or what have you, I really like what you have to say. And it does hit home. Mm-hmm. So, that is a way to reach the public. There's many other ways too. Advertising is one way. We will send messages. I always strongly suggest that lawyers starting to practice or have been in practice have some sort of mechanism of holding on to the people that have contact with them, even if they don't become clients. You need their emails, you need contact. And after a period of time, 10 years, you may have 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 or more, contacts where you can send out a message to people, and it's a lot. It hits home. So be very cognizant of what you're building and how the platform you're building, how you're trying to reach people.
Hey there. Perhaps most don't associate lawyers with the social media platform TikTok, but I would encourage you to think again if that's you. The reason being is TikTok is now the #1 most engaging social media platform on the market. It presents truly a lucrative opportunity for lawyers who know how to use it and use it effectively. If you're interested in leveraging TikTok for your law office, grab the free resource in the comments below. Yeah, so many solid suggestions there for lawyers who are serious about scaling and growth. I'm going to take it in a slightly different direction here as we wrap up this conversation, James, but I want to spend some time really around maybe the unforeseen challenges. Naturally, any type of business owner that's going to take an initiative and move into another state, move into another practice area, there are going to be some challenges that arise. It's almost impossible to avoid some of those unexpected inconveniences. But naturally, contingency plans, risk management techniques, those are powerful steps to take when you're beginning with your why, as you started in the beginning. Can you speak to this practice for lawyers? Any advice that you can give when it comes to effective risk management planning?
I'll start by saying this, that practicing law can be one of the most stressful endeavors anyone ever does. And we try to teach our lawyers. I've learned over the years, how to, the whole thought process about managing stress, I don't like. It's because it feeds into the monster. It sounds a little different, a little weird, but stress is part of life, right? And stress is part of what we do. And you ask any litigation lawyer if they're stressed, and they're going to look at you like, are you crazy? Right. Of course I am. And, there's a long time ago, I was sitting in a courtroom in a murder trial and getting ready to start the case. And I was sitting there and I was so stressed and so tight and so uptight, I couldn't really feel my hands. I was like, I'm getting ready to cross-examine. And I said to myself, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I so stressed here? I know the judge, I know the plaintiffs, I know the bailiffs, I know everybody here. Just relax. And I realized that it's not about managing stress. It's about accepting what you're doing and understanding that's part of life. If you try to avoid stress, you're going to focus on it. It's just like the work-life balance. I promise you, at my age, I've learned you'll never have 100% balance in your life as far as work and everything else. The whole idea is to go out and try to accomplish everything in every category. If that's home life, if that's a vacation, go do it to the 100% mark and push yourself as far as that's concerned. Mm-hmm. So that being said, with all the stress and things of that nature, any lawyer will tell you across this country when they wake up, if you have 10 items on the agenda, you're going to have at least 2 or 3 items that happen that day that are unexpected. That's the nature of practicing law. That's what happens. So when you go into business and the business happens to be the business of practicing law, double that sometimes and sometimes triple that. The key is trying to have fundamental techniques about how to solve these issues and not reinvent the wheel every time. When you go into another market, yes, you have to have some kind of risk management contingency. I suggest that you start small, that you put your foot in the door, you do what you need to do. Don't over obligate yourself. When you're out looking for offices, when you're looking for lawyers, when you're hiring lawyers, when you're start small and basic. Because inevitably, if you're hiring 8 people for that office in Phoenix, those 8 people may be 2 of the people you hired a year from now. So just be aware that it's going to be changing and there's going to be conflicts and changes. The art of practicing law is that it is conflictual, right? In other words, the purpose is it's adversarial. We're fighting each other to get an end result. It's the same in business in many ways. You have competitors. You have other law firms that don't necessarily like that you're coming into their market. You have that. And the best way to handle it is to either talk to those competitors about it and work out some sort of deal. Be very cognizant when you're walking into a market about any type of language that you're using as a selling tool. You don't want to steal or take, even if you don't mean to, some language that another lawyer in that market's been using for years. It's just offensive, and they look at it, you can imagine how they look at it. And many times we do things that we don't even realize. So you have to do an extensive search to see. Look at all the top lawyers, look at their websites, listen to the radio, listen to podcasts, and see what's what. So you have to be ready for anything. And there's no question that you need to be ready to adapt. The last thing I'll say about that is this, the people that work for me at my executive level have said to me, Jim, you're going 1,000 miles a minute sometimes. And what they come to realize is that the ability to adapt very quickly to a problem is a godsend. Mm-hmm. And that most of the time is what makes a business successful. So when you have these issues that pop up, you have to be able to adapt, deal with it, take care of it, fix it, or at least table it very quickly. And you have to have the mechanism. But most of it starts with you. If you don't have the temperament, if you don't have the skill, the ability, the thought process to do that, then you shouldn't do it, because not everyone can. Mm-hmm. But it can be a learned skill as well.
James, thanks so much. We appreciate you being willing to take some time to share with our listeners. I'd be interested to ask here as we close out, anything in particular I didn't ask that you would have wished I did?
Well, there's a lot, Tanner. I mean, it's an interesting subject to me because I really believe that so many lawyers and people going to law school looking to do a lot of things to help the public, to help people, to help their families. I can't tell you how many people, lawyers come to me and say, you know what, Jim, I'm the first in my family to become a lawyer. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. But lawyers after that get neglected in many ways. You know, we're expected to be warriors. We're expected to do what needs to be done. We're expected to abide by all these rules. We're expected to, communicate to the client. We're expected to bend over backwards, which we should do because that's our duty and it's a privilege. But lawyers are not really taken care of in many ways as far as emotionally and also giving a roadmap to success. So the suggestion I have for people coming out of law school is perfect the art, or at least try to get close to perfecting the art of practicing law. If you want to go into business, read. Understand the techniques of business. We get indoctrinated into thinking that practicing law is different than any other business because we're special. We think that we're special. And in many ways we are. But the bottom line is it's a business. And if you're going to be successful, treat it as a business.
Sound advice. James, thanks again. Grateful for your time. For those interested to check your firm out or get to know you better, what's the best way that they can find you?
Well, you know what? If they're really interested in more about what I talked about, you can always pick up my book on Amazon or one of the other national publications, An American Lawyer. Or you can just go to the website, jamescrawfordlaw.com, and you'll see about us. You'll see a lot of things I think you'll find a little bit different on you.
LAWsome by ConsultWebs with Tanner Jones. For show notes, links, and info, go to consultwebs.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Watch for the next LAWsome episode to discover more breakthrough insights to build a thriving law firm.